Sometimes, in the intricate weave of existence, we encounter individuals who, despite being physically close, are emotionally distant. As Epictetus wisely reminds us, it is not what happens to us, but how we respond to what happens to us that truly matters. In this context, it becomes essential to distinguish between those who genuinely share our path and those who merely fill a space in our journey. Stoic philosophy, with its clarity and calmness, guides us in these decisive moments. In Stoic teachings, we find not just a philosophy, but a practical guide to leading a life grounded in virtue and inner peace. By applying these precepts to our relationships, we gain remarkable clarity on who truly deserves our effort and who we should let go of. As we explore these indicators, I invite you to reflect on your own experiences and connections. This is a call for deep introspection, an invitation to untangle from what no longer contributes to your growth and happiness. Therefore, prepare yourself to open your eyes and hearts to the true nature of relationships. And remember, leave your like if you are ready for this journey, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring content like this. Share in the comments your experiences about breaking ties and where you are watching us from. We are all together in this quest for authenticity and fulfillment. Let's go. 1. Dishonesty. Dishonesty is a fog that clouds the path of virtue, an obstacle that disrupts the tranquility of the spirit. In Stoicism, we are taught to value honesty as a pillar of virtue, recognizing that our moral integrity is crucial for a meaningful and fulfilling life. Seneca, the great Stoic, reminds us that honesty is the foundation of justice. When someone is dishonest, they not only distort the truth, but also deteriorate the very essence of justice. Trust, the cornerstone of any human relationship, is shaken by dishonesty, and without mutual trust, the fabric that binds people disintegrates. Epictetus advises us to seek truth in all our actions and thoughts, for it is in truth that we find inner freedom. Dishonesty imprisons us in a maze of falsehoods, where consciousness becomes blurred and the spirit restless. Cutting ties with those who are constantly dishonest is not only a matter of self-preservation, but also an affirmation of our ethical values and a step towards inner peace. Dishonesty not only harms others, but also ourselves, compromising our moral integrity and staining our conscience. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, lying is an abomination to the gods, an insult to reason, and an offense to law. When we choose dishonesty, we tread a path of darkness and dishonor, distancing ourselves from virtue and truth. Dishonesty creates an environment of distrust and hostility, undermining any possibility of harmony and mutual cooperation. As Cicero observed, dishonesty destroys the bonds of society. When surrounded by dishonest people, we are constantly reminded of the fragility of human trust and the need to protect our own interests. By severing all ties with those who are dishonest, we are not acting out of hatred or resentment, but with wisdom and discernment. We recognize that the presence of such a person in our lives is detrimental to our own pursuit of virtue and inner peace. Following the example of the ancient Stoics, who taught us to seek truth in all things and to cultivate honesty as a fundamental virtue of our soul, we move away from dishonesty, drawing closer to truth and integrity, treading the path of virtue and wisdom. As Epictetus reminds us, truth is always stronger than a lie, for it is eternal and unchangeable, while a lie is fragile and ephemeral. By severing ties with those who are dishonest, we free ourselves from the chains of falsehood and draw closer to the light of truth. 2. Constant pessimism. Constant pessimism is like a storm that obscures the brightness of virtue, a fog that clouds the clear vision of our consciousness. Stoicism guides us to develop a demeanor of calm acceptance in the face of life's ups and downs, recognizing that our inner peace should not be disturbed by external events or the words of others. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, teaches us that happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control, others are not. When we are constantly exposed to the pessimism of others, we are challenged to strengthen our discernment, realizing that the only aspect we can control is our own reaction to these situations. Epictetus warns us that it is not events that trouble people, but their interpretation of those events. By allowing ourselves to be affected by the pessimism of others, we allow our peace to be compromised. By distancing ourselves from someone overly negative, we are not fleeing from life's challenges, but protecting our tranquility and maintaining our ability to face adversity with calm and balance. Constant pessimism also hinders our ability to develop gratitude and contentment. As Seneca pointed out, happiness consists of having what you desire, not desiring what you do not have. When we focus only on the negative, we lose sight of the blessings and opportunities surrounding us. By distancing ourselves from pessimism, we open the way for a life of greater satisfaction and appreciation for what we have. Moreover, constant pessimism creates an atmosphere of discouragement and hopelessness, undermining our ability to grow and thrive. As Epictetus reminds us, adversity is the means by which humans attain the dignity necessary for happiness. Surrounding ourselves with people who drag us down prevents us from learning and growing from the challenges life imposes on us. Therefore, by setting healthy boundaries with people who perpetuate a negative climate, we protect our inner peace and well-being. This does not mean disdain or indifference, but a recognition of the importance of preserving our emotional health. We reflect on the need not to let harmful influences shake our balance, inspiring ourselves with the teachings of the ancient Stoics, who encourage us to maintain serenity in adversity and continuously seek virtue in our lives. 3. Disregard. Disregard is a shadow that obscures the light of virtue, a disharmony that disrupts peaceful coexistence among people. A common example of disregard can be seen in daily interactions in the workplace. Imagine a colleague who consistently disregards your ideas in meetings or fails to acknowledge your contributions to team projects. This disregard not only shakes your self-esteem, but also creates an atmosphere of distrust and antagonism in the workplace, harming productivity and collective well-being. Another frequent example of disregard occurs in personal relationships, such as friendships or romantic relationships. For instance, if you have a friend who frequently cancels plans at the last minute without considering your feelings or commitments, this demonstrates a lack of consideration for your time and availability. This indifference can weaken trust and closeness in the friendship, rendering it superficial and unsatisfying. Epictetus reminds us that it is not events that disturb people, but their perception of those events. When we encounter situations of disregard, we are challenged to exercise our power of choice and discernment. Cutting ties with someone who does not treat us with respect is not a matter of revenge or hurt, but an affirmation of our own dignity and worth as human beings. As Seneca observed, true friendship cannot exist where there is no mutual trust. When we find ourselves in a situation of disregard, it is difficult to trust the sincerity of interactions with that person. In facing disregard in our daily interactions, we are challenged to maintain our dignity and integrity, even in the face of challenges. We recognize that our self-esteem and value as human beings do not depend on the behavior of others, but on our own inner firmness. Following the example of the ancient Stoics, we seek to cultivate relationships based on justice, equality, and mutual respect, thereby contributing to an environment of harmony and virtue in our lives and communities. 4. Toxic vibe. Imagine yourself in a peaceful garden, enveloped by the calm of nature. You admire the tall trees reaching for the sky, their branches gently swaying in the breeze. Beneath your feet, the green grass undulates softly, like a tranquil ocean on a summer morning. As you observe this scene, You notice the presence of a bird gliding through the garden, its wings gracefully fluttering in the air as it searches for food and refuge. In nature, we witness a clear example of balance and harmony. The trees do not compete with each other for sunlight. Instead, each grows toward the light, finding its unique space under the vast sky. The birds do not fret over the challenges the day may bring. Rather, they trust their instincts and abilities to find food and shelter, adapting to situations as needed. However, we do not always find the same balance and harmony in human interactions. At times, we encounter people whose vibe is as toxic as the pollution that clouds the night sky. These individuals can be like destructive storms, hurling harsh words and brutal actions in all directions, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. When we find ourselves in such a situation, we are challenged to maintain our inner calm and equanimity, just like the tall trees and graceful birds we observe in nature. We recognize that we cannot control the actions or words of others, but we can control our own reaction to them. As Epictetus reminds us, it is not events that disturb people, but their interpretation of those events. Just as a tree does not allow a storm to topple it, we can learn to stand firm in our own virtue and inner tranquility, regardless of external circumstances. Severing all ties with someone who is consistently toxic is not a matter of fleeing life's challenges, but of preserving our own peace and emotional well-being. By observing the nature around us, we are reminded of the importance of cultivating relationships based on virtue, positivity, and mutual respect. Just like the tall trees and graceful birds that share our world, we seek to find our unique space under the vast sky of existence, living in harmony with each other and the universe that surrounds us. 5. Lack of reciprocity. There is no greater sign of folly than to repeatedly perform the same actions and expect different results. Attributed to Albert Einstein, this phrase, though not from a Stoic, reflects an essential principle of Stoic philosophy: the importance of rationality and wisdom in the pursuit of virtue and inner well-being. Imagine yourself in a situation where you are constantly giving and striving to maintain a healthy relationship with someone close, whether a friend, family member, or romantic partner. However, despite all your efforts, you realize that the relationship is profoundly unequal. You are always available to offer support, understanding, and love, but rarely see these gestures reciprocated. As Epictetus reminds us, a person's character is their destiny. You realize that this person's behavior reflects their own character and values, and there is little you can do to change it. You have tried to communicate, express your concerns, and establish healthy boundaries, but nothing seems to have a lasting effect. You find yourself trapped in a cycle of frustration and disillusionment, hoping that things will improve on their own. At this moment, you recall the words of Seneca, who teaches us that life is too short to be wasted on vain hopes, and you realize that continuing to invest time and energy in an imbalanced relationship is a form of folly. You are repeating the same patterns of behavior, expecting different results, when you should actually accept reality as it is and act accordingly. You recognize that, to preserve your own peace and well-being, it may be necessary to sever all ties with this person. It is not an easy decision, but you know it is the wisest and most virtuous in the long run. You remember the words of Marcus Aurelius, who teaches us that wisdom is the only thing that frees us from the shackles of ignorance and suffering. 6. Abusive behavior. When confronted with someone's abusive behavior, it becomes a clear sign that we should consider severing all ties with that person. According to Stoic principles, emotional, verbal, physical, or psychological abuse contradicts the fundamental values of virtue, respect, and human dignity. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate relationships based on reciprocity, justice, and mutual respect. When a person exhibits abusive behavior, they violate these essential principles and therefore are not worthy of maintaining a place in our lives. Abusive behavior can manifest in various forms, such as emotional manipulation, constant insults, physical violence, excessive control, or any form of disrespectful treatment. Such actions not only cause pain and suffering to those targeted by the abuse, but also erode the very essence of virtue and human dignity. In the face of such behavior, Stoicism encourages us to act with courage and determination to protect our own integrity and emotional well-being. Severing all ties with someone who exhibits abusive behavior is not an escape from life's challenges, but an affirmation of our own self-esteem and worth as human beings. By distancing ourselves from an abusive person, we demonstrate a firm commitment to our own Stoic principles and values. We free ourselves from the yoke of manipulation and control, seeking to live a life of dignity, authenticity, and inner peace. Stoicism teaches us that we deserve to be treated with respect and dignity in all aspects of our lives. Severing all ties with someone who exhibits abusive behavior is not just a matter of self-preservation, but also an affirmation of our own humanity and worth as moral and virtuous beings. 7. Lack of personal growth. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of self-improvement and the pursuit of moral excellence, and any bond that does not support this growth can be seen as detrimental to our emotional and spiritual health. Imagine a situation where someone is trapped in a bond where there is no room for personal growth. For example, an individual may be in a work environment where there are no opportunities for learning or career advancement. They find themselves stagnant in their skills and knowledge, with no prospect of progress or enhancement in their professional journey. Another example can be observed in interpersonal relationships, where the lack of personal growth is evident. For instance, a friendship where conversations are shallow and do not encourage intellectual or emotional growth for those involved. In this case, both may feel stagnant and unable to progress as individuals. In the family realm, the lack of personal growth can manifest in dysfunctional behavioral patterns that hinder the healthy development of each family member. For example, in a family dynamic where communication is constantly negative and critical, members may feel discouraged from expressing their true feelings and aspirations, thus hindering their personal and emotional growth. In light of these examples, Stoicism reminds us of the necessity to foster relationships that propel us to grow and transform into better versions of ourselves. If a relationship is obstructing our personal advancement and not contributing to our journey toward moral excellence and self-improvement, it may be essential to consider severing all ties with that person. By doing so, we are demonstrating a solid commitment to our own development and well-being, placing our pursuit of excellence and virtue above the desire to maintain a relationship that no longer benefits us. It is a difficult choice, but one that directs us towards the path of authenticity and personal fulfillment, as taught by the ancient Stoics. 8. Emotional manipulation. Situations of emotional manipulation can arise in various contexts, from personal relationships to work or family environments. For example, someone may try to manipulate another person's feelings to achieve their goals, using tactics such as emotional blackmail, guilt, or mind games. In a romantic relationship, for instance, a partner may resort to emotional manipulation to control the other's behavior, undermining their self-esteem or making them feel guilty for their own needs and desires. This can result in a toxic and harmful environment where the manipulated person feels constantly anxious, insecure, and unhappy. In the workplace, emotional manipulation can manifest through manipulation strategies, where colleagues or superiors try to influence the feelings or perceptions of others for personal or professional gain. This can create a hostile and demotivating work environment where people constantly feel under pressure and stress. In these situations, Stoicism reminds us of the importance of maintaining our integrity and dignity as human beings. If we find ourselves in a relationship where we are victims of emotional manipulation, it is crucial to act with courage and determination to protect our own well-being. One way to deal with emotional manipulation is to set clear boundaries and communicate our needs assertively. This involves expressing our feelings calmly and firmly, without being swayed by the emotions of the moment. If emotional manipulation persists, despite our efforts to establish healthy boundaries, it may be necessary to sever all ties with the person responsible for the manipulation. While this decision may be difficult, it is an affirmation of our own self-esteem and dignity, placing our emotional health and well-being above the desire to maintain a harmful relationship. By following the example of the ancient Stoics, we learn to value our own integrity and virtue above all else, and to act with courage and determination to protect our inner peace and happiness. By cutting all ties with someone who emotionally manipulates us, we are taking a step toward authenticity and emotional freedom, as taught by the ancient Stoics. 9. Lack of understanding. Understanding is a sign of nobility, proclaimed Seneca. A lack of understanding is a clear sign that it may be essential to sever all ties with someone. Stoic philosophy values the virtue of compassion and understanding, acknowledging that these attributes are crucial for establishing healthy and deep bonds. When an individual shows a lack of understanding in their interpersonal relationships, this can manifest in various ways, from apathy towards others' needs and emotions to disregard for the effects of their own actions. For example, someone may disregard a close friend's feelings of sadness or suffering, or act selfishly and insensitively toward others' needs. In nature, we observe clear examples of understanding and cooperation among animals. For example, in many primate species, group members exhibit understanding behaviors, consoling each other in moments of tension or pain. Similarly, we see examples of altruism and mutual care in various mammal species, where individuals cooperate to ensure the group's well-being as a whole. In the face of a lack of understanding in a relationship, Stoicism reminds us of the importance of protecting our own emotional health and well-being. If we find ourselves in a relationship where we are constantly disregarded or ignored, it is crucial to act with bravery and resolution to protect our own integrity. One way to deal with a lack of understanding is to set clear boundaries and communicate our demands assertively. This involves expressing our feelings calmly and firmly, without being dominated by the emotions of the moment. If the lack of understanding persists, despite our efforts to establish healthy boundaries, it may be necessary to consider severing all ties with the person responsible for the lack of understanding. While this decision may be difficult, it is an affirmation of our own self-esteem and dignity, placing our emotional well-being above the desire to maintain a harmful relationship. We need to value ourselves above all else and act with bravery and resolution to protect our inner peace and happiness. By distancing ourselves from such a person, we are freeing ourselves from their negative influence and seeking relationships based on true compassion and mutual respect, as taught by the ancient Stoics. 10. Transgression of essential values. We have reached the final sign, the transgression of essential values. So far, we have explored a series of warning signs indicating the need to sever all ties with someone according to Stoic principles. We have learned that we should distance ourselves from people who demonstrate abusive behavior, lack of personal growth, emotional manipulation, lack of understanding, and now the transgression of essential values. When someone transgresses essential values such as honesty, integrity, respect, or justice, it undermines the foundation of trust and mutual respect necessary for any healthy relationship. For example, if a person repeatedly lies, betrays others' trust, or acts dishonestly and manipulatively, they are severely compromising the integrity of the relationship. In Stoicism, essential values are seen as fundamental pillars for a virtuous and meaningful life. When these values are transgressed by someone in our lives, It is crucial to act with bravery and resolution to protect our own integrity and well-being. Severing ties with such individuals can be a difficult decision, especially if the person is close to us or if we have deep emotional bonds. However, by doing so, we demonstrate a firm commitment to our own principles and values, placing our integrity and dignity above the desire to maintain a harmful relationship. Nature offers us many examples of essential values in action. For instance, we see examples of cooperation and mutual respect among the members of an ant colony or a wolf pack, where each individual contributes to the group's well-being and follows basic principles of justice and equity. It is not just a matter of self-preservation, but also an affirmation of our own humanity and dignity. It is a courageous and virtuous choice that allows us to live in accordance with our own principles and find inner peace and genuine happiness. Our journey through the signs indicating the need to sever all ties with someone, according to Stoicism, teaches us valuable lessons about self-sufficiency, authenticity, and personal growth. By recognizing these signs and acting with bravery and resolution to protect our own integrity, we empower ourselves to live more meaningful and virtuous lives. If you enjoyed this video and found value in it, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content on personal development and practical philosophy. And if you've made it to the end of this video, leave a comment with the phrase "to the end," so I know you're a true seeker of knowledge. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.